Good evening, everyone. Observing a quorum present, I'm going to call the Town of Dayton Annual Town Meeting to order. Today is Monday, June 1st, 2026. We are in the Dayton-Rehoboth Regional High School Auditorium, and the Cable Committee is recording the meeting, which can be viewed at a later date on the Town of Dayton cable channel and the Town of Dayton YouTube channel. If you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple small housekeeping items before we get started. Under discussion, if you wish to speak, I ask that you please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you are unable to speak, come up, please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. In order for cable to properly record the meeting, you need to be speaking into a microphone, so please be mindful of that. If you stand up and speak, we won't be able to hear you and it won't get recorded. And also, please, when standing at the microphone up front here, face the stage, do not turn it, as we will experience some feedback.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we dispense with the reading of the warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move to dispense with the reading of the articles and that reference to them be made by number and content.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we consider adjournment at 11 p.m.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we hear the reports of the town officials.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will now hear the reports of the town officials.
Good evening, everyone. This year's meeting is especially significant as we gather on the eve of our nation's 250th anniversary. For 2.5 centuries, Daytonians have come together in town meetings just like this one to make decisions that have shaped our town. Tonight is also the end of a budget process that began back in December and has continued through today. Over the past 6 months, our department heads, town accountant, finance committee, and board of selectmen have worked diligently to review every aspect of the town's finances. Together, we scrutinize the budget line by line, evaluating needs, identifying efficiencies, and making difficult decisions to ensure every taxpayer dollar is spent responsibly. The budget before you tonight reflects the priorities and values of Dayton. Every one of your local tax dollars has a direct and visible impact. You can see it at work right here in Dayton. It supports our schools and the education of our children, provides the resources our police officers, firefighters, and EMS personnel need to keep us safe. And it maintains our roads, parks, buildings, and essential services that shape the quality of life we enjoy in Dayton. At the same time, we recognize the financial challenges facing communities across the Commonwealth. Dayton is not alone in navigating a difficult fiscal climate. In fiscal year 2026 alone, 54 municipalities, Dayton included, placed 74 override questions on local ballots, the second largest since the early 90s. Despite these challenges, Dayton has demonstrated remarkable resilience. Through careful planning and budgeting, this budget reflects department cuts without layoffs of employees. While many neighboring communities have faced significant workforce reductions and difficult cuts to services, Dayton has remained focused on maintaining the level of services our residents expect. That resilience is a testament to our town and our priorities. I am hopeful Dayton will continue to work together to maintain our services that makes our town a great place to live. I would like to also take a moment to thank our entire team, including our town administrator, town accountant, town clerk, our checkers, moderator, Attorney Costa, and the Finance Committee for their dedication, professionalism, and countless hours of work in preparing for tonight. None of what we do would be possible without their collaboration and commitment. I would also like to recognize and thank Nicole Mello for her service on the Board of Selectmen through April 2026 and her valuable contributions to the development of this warrant. I would like to welcome Glenn Cabbage to the Board of Selectmen and acknowledge Peter Karen for his continued service and willingness to step forward on behalf of our town. And finally, I want to offer a very sincere and heartfelt thank you to Karen Brady, our Executive Assistant and HR Coordinator, whose tireless work behind the scenes makes town meeting a seamless event. We could not be here without you, Karen. So, as we begin tonight's meeting, I ask that we continue a tradition that is as old as our democracy itself. Neighbors coming together to shape the future of Dayton. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bill Rooney, Superintendent of Schools here at Dayton Rehoboth. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to provide a brief State of the District update as everyone considers tonight's warrant. First of all, I'd like to thank the residents of Dayton for your continued support of our students and our schools. Public education succeeds when communities invest not only dollars, but trust, partnership, and belief in the next generation. I'd also like to thank the Dayton Board of Selectmen, including past member Nicole Mello, also Town Administrator Ralph Fataco, Finance Committee members, and our school committee for their ongoing collaboration this year. While school finance remains challenging across Massachusetts, the conversations this year have been largely productive and focused on finding solutions. I'm also proud to say that our buildings are as safe as they have ever been. This is due to your investment, but also due to the diligence of Chief Nichols, Deputy Chief Richards, our school resource officers, Chief McGee, Captain Gagnon, and of course, Oki. Many of you know Dayton Elementary School remains one of our highest priorities. Through our partnership with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, we continue to move forward in the feasibility phase of what could become a transformational project for the Dayton community. I want to thank the School Building Committee, town officials, educators, parents, and community members who have contributed their time and expertise to this effort, which reflects a shared commitment to creating learning environments that will serve students for generations to come. This has also been a remarkable year across the entire district. We recently secured a $1.5 million career and technical education grant to launch culinary arts and criminal justice and public safety programs. When that CTE grant was announced, some questioned whether there was a catch. The reality is that these new Chapter 74 aligned programs represent a strategic investment in both students and taxpayers. Approved Chapter 74 programs generate approximately $5,600 more per student in state reimbursement, and as enrollment continues to grow, expanding in-district opportunities helps attract and retain students who might otherwise leave the district. Over time, that not only increases district revenue, but it can also help reduce tuition and transportation costs paid by our town to out-of-district vocational schools like Bristol Plymouth or Bristol Aggie. Last year, those costs to the town of Dayton alone exceeded $2.7 million. We also earned early college designation through our partnership with Bridgewater State University. This designation will bring in grant money, allowing a student to pursue an early college pathway where they can earn up to 2 years of free college credit while still enrolled in high school. Our students continue to excel in academics, athletics, the arts, and community service. Additionally, our district has received state and national recognition for innovation, technology integration, theater education, and inclusive practices. Perhaps most encouraging of all is the fact that enrollment is growing. At a time when Massachusetts continues to experience declining student enrollment statewide, Dayton-Rehoboth has reversed that trend. District-wide enrollment is up, high school enrollment is up, and more students are choosing to remain in our schools because of the opportunities available to them. That growth reflects the confidence families have in the direction of this district and the quality of the educational experience we provide. At the same time, we remain focused on the responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. Despite the ongoing challenges with the state's outdated Chapter 70 funding formula, we have continued to pursue efficiencies, aggressively seek grant funding, and position the district for long-term sustainability. Most importantly, our students are thriving. We are creating pathways that prepare students for whatever comes next. And in this era, when many communities are asking how to attract and retain families, strong public schools remain one of the most important investments a town can make. 4 years ago, I asked this community for an opportunity to lead. Since then, we have worked hard to strengthen our schools, rebuild confidence, and create momentum for the future. And while there is still work to do, tonight I can confidently say that Dayton-Rehoboth is moving forward and we are driving toward 2030. Thank you for your support, your partnership, and your investment in our We Are DR community, as well as public education. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Board of Selectmen, Mr. Administrator, Ms. Clerk, Town Council, members of the Finance Committee, fellow residents of Dayton, and of course, first thing is a thank you to Karen, as always. My name is Peter Roach. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee, and there's a lot to go over, so I just want to jump right into it. The process for the FY27 budget was difficult to say the least. Each department head was asked to provide two budgets, one if an exclusion passed, one if it didn't. As we noted at last year's annual meeting, without the exclusion, there would be a reduction in town employees. The budget presented tonight has a reduction of 5 full-time equivalent employees. One is a retirement that's not being replaced. Second was a voluntary separation that's not being replaced. The other 3 are a reduction. Overall, the FY27 budget represents a 2% increase over 26. Of this increase, education makes up 91% of that. The education budget increased by 3.3% overall. However, I would like to note that the DR increase is 2.59%, thanks to some grants that Mr. Rooney was able to secure, while BP saw an increase of 11%. The remainder of the budget was an increase of 0.4%. To drill that down further, there was an increase in public safety of $91,000, while the rest of the town budget was a decline of $40,000. As we discussed last year, personnel costs represent 75% of the non-education budget. Of that remaining 25% that represent expenses, half of those are trash and the police station debt. Short of that is that there is not much room to reduce expenses in order to make cuts in the town budget. For a second year in a row, we are using free cash to be able to balance the budget. Last year was roughly $200,000, and during the budget process, we had discussions that without change this year would be close to $500,000. In this year's budget, we're using $465,000. To quote from the state, free cash should be used for one-time expenditures, funding capital projects, or replenishing stabilization funds, should not be used for operating expenses. Our fingers are crossed that this year we have the free cash, this coming year we have the free cash to support what will be needed, because we're now rolling down that hill. More than likely, with things the way they are, more cuts will be needed. And after this year, reductions in general government and highway, it's not out of the question that the other departments will be hit with this as well. Difficult decisions were made this year, and unfortunately more will need to be made next year. I would like to reiterate some of the things that we've said for the last few town meetings. Please go to or watch budget meetings through this winter and spring. Reach out with questions to the BOS or FinCom. Please go to or watch budget meetings for a DR. Reach out to your school committee members with questions and concerns. DR represents 48% of our budget. When school committee members are going through that budget, the town should be speaking to them. To wrap this up, FY '26 saw the end of the town's $108,000 obligation for the high school remodel. So that goes away as it was a debt exclusion. There are 4 years remaining on the DES and DMS roof debt of $131,000 a year, and 11 years left on the police station, which is $332,000. At 6:30, the projected capital stabilization fund will be $525,000. Stabilization will be $2.37 million. Free cash after the articles, assuming they pass, will be $42,000. The ambulance fund will be $454,000. In closing, the Finance Committee met extensively with all involved to develop the recommendations in front of you and ask for your support in these recommendations. Thank you for your attendance at this important annual town meeting, and we welcome all comments and questions along the way. Thank you.
Are there any other reports?
Short people. Ms. Camille? All right. I'll go down low. Hi there, Bill Moore, the Chairman, Board of Assessors. Welcome and thank you for attending the annual town meeting. We are happy to report that all payment in lieu of taxes pilot programs have been implemented, with the last one beginning tax payments on July 1st, 2025 for fiscal year 2026. The Board of Assessors requested placement of an article on tonight's warrant that would provide an annual increase in exemption granted under Chapter 59, Section 5, Clauses 22A, B, C, E, and F. We will provide more information on that article later in this evening. Due to proposed reductions, the Assessor's Office budget will be substantially reduced. That reduction would mean one less person to provide services to the public. In addition, it will cause delays in filing reports with the Department of Revenue. We will respond appropriately during budget discussion. Respectfully submitted, William Moore, Chairman, Nancy Goulart, Clerk, Eric Easterday, Member. Thank you.
Are there any other reports from town officials?
Mr. Moderator, I move that we consider adjournment, my apologies, no. I move that we accept the reports of the town officials as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 2.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint all necessary town officials and town committees not otherwise provided for by statute.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $652.96 to pay for prior year bills. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. This will require a 4/5 vote. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to establish the salaries of elected town officials for fiscal year 2027 in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of Chapter 41 of the general laws as recommended by the Finance Committee and printed in Article 4 of the June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have a question for whoever can answer it.
Could you just state your name and
Oh,
address for the
sorry,
record?
yes.
Thank you,
Oh,
sir.
my God. Decorum. Brett Zographos, 401 Tremont Street. Approximately how long ago was the selectman's salary cut from $5,000 to $1,250? Thank you.
Last year was the first year. There was reduction in pretty much every committee and selectmen, Board of Health.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate and to transfer from available funds and to transfer from sewer indirect costs the total amount of $1,679,473.21 to the general government accounts as specified in the warrant for June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, specifically to raise and appropriate $1,627,549.73 and to transfer $30,000 from free cash and to transfer $21,923.48 from sewer indirect costs for fiscal year 2027.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. I have gone over with the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator about the issues with the budget that we have had this year. There is a gross miscalculation of anticipated income, which is causing all of this talk of doom and gloom going up here. The one department that really is getting hit on this is the Board of Assessors. Now, I can tell you this, there is no extra employees at the Board of Assessors. If we do not have all three people working in that office, we're going to end up with we're already overworked. They are already overworked. We're going to end up with a backlog. We're going to end up with revenue not coming to the town because we're not putting it on the books on time. We're going to end up with residents not being able to get their abatements because we won't have the manpower to be able to do the research and get the abatements done. And when we don't get those abatements done, we're going to open ourselves up to the possibility of fines coming from the state of Massachusetts. Later on this evening, we're going to be talking about putting $25,000 in the bank and spending $300,000 on a truck. Now, I'm for both of those articles, to be honest with you. But this amount to save $49,000 on the back of the Board of Assessors, I disagree with. So therefore, I would like to make a motion to amend to change line 141 personnel from the $151,193.22 to the requested budget amount from the Board of Assessors of $200,371.26.
Motion made and seconded to amend. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Sir. Sorry, sir. And Mr. Moore, just as he's walking up, can you just write your amendment?
Hi. David Cox, 125 Sunny's Way. I don't oppose the request. What I would say is, as a town, we need to consider all of the expenses, whether it's 40-some-odd thousand from one department, 300,000 from another. I don't think we should go make a decision on one and then later on get to others, and now we have to scramble. I would suggest we take that, put it off to the side, and when we talk about the 300,000, any other items, that be included in that conversation. So not saying yes or no, but just asking to postpone the decision on that particular line item.
No. No, just for kind of clarification. So there's a motion to amend to change that one particular line item.
No, I understand. Yeah.
So
The town has so much money to spend, right? There's a lot of people that would like a piece of that money. To just say this particular line item takes precedence and jumps in front of all those others, it should be part of the entire conversation. Whether it's the procedures or not, it's just common sense at some point has to say, we have so much money to spend, let's talk about what we'd like to spend it on.
I don't think it's applicable to where we're at right now with the amendment.
Nancy Goulart, Board of Assessors. I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Moderator. We are now discussing all of the sections that were in the motion. This is the appropriate time to talk about a position in the assessor's office that my colleague has requested to be funded and not to delay it further. I just want to add, until I became an assessor, I had no idea at all what assessors did, even as a member of the FinCom. Everything we do is looked upon and audited by and checked on by the Department of Revenue. Not a couple of times a year. It's almost daily at certain times of the year. My concern is in losing this position if it's not funded as requested. We're not only going to miss deadlines, and he mentioned fines, but we can't afford not to meet the deadlines that are imposed on all communities by the Department of Revenue. It's not a department you want to be on the bad side of, so please consider supporting this motion. Thank you.
Mr. Gale, I see your hand. We have one gentleman coming up to speak, and then we'll have a microphone brought to you.
Okay, well, thank you. Brett Zagrafos, 401 Tremont Street. I guess my question for whoever can answer this is, when there were times when I was serving, town administrator would leave, the selectman would step in, and we would kind of fill that role for a period of time. Is it not possible for the Board of Assessors to kind of pick up some of the work that that employee would have been doing to save the town some money? Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
If you would, please let Mr. Gale speak, and then I'll have you circle back to you.
I think I can speak with or without the mic. Most of you know my voice is pretty loud at times. I appreciate the concern that the assessor's office has and, you know, the need potentially for that third person. But at the same time, my concern is that if we accept this amendment right now, we're heading down a slippery slope, as noted earlier by Chairperson of the FinCom, with the budget the way it is and potential quote-unquote layoffs or retirements and so forth. At this point, I am respectfully making a motion that the amendment to the motion be tabled.
A motion has been made to table the amendment. That is a non-discussion motion. All those in favor of tabling the amendment? Aye. Opposed? No. Checkers, close the doors, please. We're going to do a hand vote. So we're going to conduct a hand vote. I ask that when you vote, you please keep your hand raised until the checkers have made their way to the end of the aisle. All of those in favor of tabling the amendment, please raise your hand. At this time, you may lower your hands. Now we're going to do, again? Okay. Yes, all of those in favor of tabling the motion, please raise your hand. Just the center, please. This is in favor of tabling the amendment. Okay, y'all can lower your hands for 1 second. All of those opposed to the tabling of the amendment, please raise your hands and keep them raised. The motion to table passes with 85 yes and 41 no. We would just resume the discussion of the original motion.
But the amendment has been tabled, it has not been voted down.
The motion to table allows for reconsideration later in the meeting. However, we will resume the discussion and vote on the original motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I serve notice of vote for reconsideration?
Leonard Hull, 760 Main Street, Dayton. At this point, I would like to serve notice that I am going to ask for a vote of reconsideration on the assessors.
Can you make that in the form of a motion?
At this time, right. No, I don't. Are you going to allow me to make that motion at this time for a vote of reconsideration?
You can make a motion to take it from the table.
I would, at this time, like to make a motion for a vote of reconsideration on the amendment as proposed this evening.
Is there a second?
Well, I asked him that, he said he's allowed. Your motion to be... I will make a motion to take it off the table at this time.
Motion made and seconded to take it off the table. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Checkers, close the doors. Let's do a hand vote. I mean, it's going to be the same thing. All those in favor of taking the tabled amendment, taking the amendment off the table, please raise your hands. A vote in the affirmative would take the amendment off the table and it would be reconsidered at this time. Correct. However, you do have the ability to take it off the table. So a vote in the affirmative will remove that amendment from the table where it will be discussed and reconsidered at this time. I'm just going to go to the point. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. With 46 yeses and 70 noes, the amendment stays tabled. At this time, we will resume the discussion. We will resume the discussion on the original motion. The number? 40, 46 yes, 70 no. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from the ambulance fund the total amount of $4,495,063.71 to public safety accounts as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, specifically to raise and appropriate $4,045,063.71 and to transfer $450,000 from the ambulance fund for fiscal year 2027.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate for education assessments as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, the sum of $15,974,512 for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the highway and streets accounts as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, in the amount of $1,027,073.89 for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the sanitation accounts as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, in the amount of $990,005.75 for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the other environmental accounts as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, in the amount of $32,406.35 for fiscal year 27.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the Human Services accounts as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, in the amount of $394,906.03 for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from PEG access funds to the culture and recreation accounts the sum of $386,754 as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically to raise and appropriate $328,234 and to transfer $58,520 from the PEG access for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from Title V funds to the debt accounts in the sum of $332,293 as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026, annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically to raise and appropriate $325,624 and to transfer $6,669 from the Title V for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the employee benefits accounts the sum of $2,861,888.60 as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026, annual town meeting, Article 5, for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I move the town vote to raise and appropriate to the liability insurance accounts the sum of $280,039.20 as specified in the warrant of June 1st, 2026, annual town meeting, Article 5, for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the sums outlined to be expended under the direction of the Board of Sewer Commissioners for the operation and maintenance of the sewer enterprise for fiscal year 2027, as recommended by the Finance Committee and printed in Article 6 of the June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, as most recently amended, establish fiscal year limitation on expenditures from the revolving funds established by the Town of Dayton's General Bylaws, Article 3, Department Revolving Funds, with such limitations for fiscal year 27 as stated in Article 7 of the June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 8.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $360,000 to fund the fiscal year 26 snow and ice deficit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 9.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to make changes in grade, take land by purchase or eminent domain, or to settle damage from land taken in conjunction with the fiscal year 2027 highway program under Chapter 90 in the Town Road Improvement Program.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to grant to the Board of Selectmen the authority to obtain whatever parcels or easements as necessary to make changes in grade, take land by purchase or eminent domain, and to settle damages from land taken in conjunction with highway maintenance or road or bridge reconstruction projects.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Cheryl Goff, 210 Muddy Cove Lane. Does this have anything to do with the Pleasant Street Bridge project?
This is this article is a general article giving the authority to the Board of Selectmen to act accordingly. Article 18 addresses the specific takings in reference to the Pleasant Street Bridge project.
Do you know what you're planning on taking? Because I had talked to both of you guys on separate occasions.
What?
So this specific article is just a general point of business for the town and is not specific to any project. So this is a general discussion item yearly that authorizes the Board of Selectmen, and then later in the warrant, we will be discussing a specific
Okay,
project.
thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Annual Reserves in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee and printed in the annual town meeting warrant for the community administrative expensive, community preservation product, and other expenses in fiscal year 2027, with each item to consider a separate appropriation.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $53,320, with $5,000 deriving from the CPA fund balance reserves for historical resources and $48,320 deriving from the CPA unreserved undesignated fund balance to be expended by the Community Preservation Committee for the conservation, reproduction, and digitization of the Town of Dayton vital record books. Project completion and expenditure of the fund shall be in accordance with the Step 7 of the Town of Dayton Community Preservation Committee's application and guidelines.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 13.
To transfer from free cash the amount of $25,000 to be deposited into the stabilization fund. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd just like to, Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. I'd like to reiterate that we are laying off an employee, but we're putting $25,000 in the bank. I will oppose this.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $14,500 to be expended by the police chief as the first payment of a 5-year lease purchase of a new fully equipped police administrative vehicle and any necessary accessories relative thereto. FinCom recommends free cash.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $295,854.45 to be expended by the highway superintendent for the purchase of a new 4-season body plow truck and necessary accessories relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
If I could just note that the Highway Department is retiring a 1996 truck to purchase this truck.
Leonard Hull, 760 Main Street, Dayton. As Mr. Moore said a moment ago, we're laying off 3 employees, and I note that later on we're going to be asked for $50,000 to cover their unemployment benefits. We're laying off 3 employees and we're buying trucks, $295,000 worth of trucks.
So there were positions that in this fiscal year 27 budget that were eliminated. So there were elimination of positions, but it's my understanding that every employee was able to find a job within the town of Dayton. There's one that is ongoing, but every other position they have already successfully landed. Another position within the town, many of them at a higher grade and a higher salary as well, to take on increased responsibilities that comes in with the reduction in positions. So I caution, you know, we did have a tighter fiscal year, and we had to make some tough decisions based on the message that the town gave us at the ballot box. However, the employees that work for the town of Dayton in FY26 will continue to work in FY27. We made every single, we did everything we could to make sure that we could continue to employ our current employees, and we were successful. So, thank you.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Great Terrace, North Dayton. I'm speaking as chairman of the Stormwater Committee. I support this purchase. I know it is necessary. I wonder how many people who oppose it have actually spent time at the Highway Department looking at facilities and looking at equipment. When you're replacing a vehicle, a snow vehicle, that's 1996, that tells me that this particular department is very good at managing its assets and keeping its equipment on the road. I think many of us can comment when there's a blizzard or other natural disaster. You know when you went to Dayton after a snowstorm, and you know when you leave Dayton after a snowstorm. So I certainly support the purchase of this equipment. I also spoke against the loss of somebody in the assessor's office because I oppose that. But I won't weigh that position against the need to replace this equipment. I know what this department does. I practically work with them on a daily basis because of the involvement with stormwater. So I ask that you consider approving this. Thank you.
Dave Cox, 125 Sunny's Way. I guess question for the Highway Department. I don't know who that representative is, but if we don't purchase this plow, what's the cost of doing nothing? Meaning what doesn't get done, what gets delayed if we don't purchase the plow?
Mr. Ferry, would you like to come up and speak to that?
I just want to be clear, you asked what would happen if we did nothing?
Yeah, we're asking for $300,000 per plow, so if you don't get $300,000, what's the impact?
So the impact is another year goes by when we still have 4 vehicles that are over 30 years old.
Okay.
That's what we need to build it up.
That's the impact that was?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. So just one more comment then, as Ms. Goulart had said, that this department's very good at managing their trucks, keeping them running. I think in a time where we have to tighten up a little bit, asking the department to milk another year out of their equipment might be the right way to go. I know it's not easy.
So we've been telling the Highway Department, Mr. Ferry, that for an extended period of time now. To his point, there are 4 vehicles that are over 30 years old in the Highway Department right now. I also want to let everybody know, if you weren't able to join any of the FinCom meetings or any of the board meetings where we were there and discussing these items, which there were several in a row, there was originally a request for 2 trucks, which when we were going through budget associations, realized that that was not fiscally possible. In addition to that, as you saw, we voted on a additional vehicle for the police chief in the form of a lease, which is not something that we've traditionally done in the past for our police department. There was also 2 additional purchases that they had asked for, and we turned one of those into a lease because they needed to replace a vehicle. So we have really thought through every way of getting the departments what they need from an equipment perspective without breaking the bank. The reality of the situation is Mr. Ferry comes to us every single year asking for tens of thousands of dollars for repairs on the trucks, and this is a way of staunching some of that bleeding.
Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. I want to make it clear that my belief is that there is money available that is not being represented tonight. I think when we look at, and thank you to Mr. Hull for his comments. I want to clarify if my wording was imprecise. Maybe there are no technically layoffs. That means there's nobody that is being forced out the door, but there are positions being cut, being people leaving through attrition, retirement, negotiation, whatever. We're reducing town services, and that's my beef. However, in this particular instance, I think we can all agree. I think Nancy said something to that effect of, this is, if we have one source of pride in this town, it is our roads. We have great roads, particularly snow removal. Tom Ferry is doing a fantastic job. He works things on a shoestring budget. He's been doing these machines for, what did you say, it was 30 years, 40 years? 30 years. That's, do any of us own 30-year-old vehicles? It's time. I completely support Mr. Ferry getting the money he deserves.
I just want to echo that. I think anyone who knows anything about trucks, you know that the fastest way to debilitate a truck is to put a plow on it. And the ability to keep a truck on the road plowing our roads for 30 years is nothing short of remarkable, in my opinion. So, again, thank you, and I echo what Bill Moore just said. As a new selectman, I would suggest, and I would like to see the town do more to put items like this into line items on the budget for capital expenditures, rather than using free cash so that we can plan accordingly, save step by step, rather than just surprise, we need $300,000. So I would like to see us take steps to do that. Granted, I'm new. There's a great deal that I need to learn about how that works, but that would be my objective. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $145,310.41 to be expended by the treasurer collector for the purpose of reconciling Southeastern Mass Health Group check bank correction. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Is Mr. Reynolds here? Mr. Reynolds? Paul, may I ask you to come and speak to this, please?
Good evening, Paul Reynolds, 257 Pearl Street. I was holding off a minute just to see in case there were any specific questions that I could address directly. While this is proposed tonight as a transfer from free cash, in actuality, this is really more funds that should not have been in free cash in the first place. By that I mean, when the town pays a bill, it issues a check on the bank side, on the treasury side, and then it issues a warrant for payment on the accounting side. So there's a payment that goes out, and then there's a warrant that authorizes that payment to go out. Whenever a check is lost in the mail, mutilated with a letter opener, whatever the case may be, for any reason the check is lost in transit or can't be negotiated, bank checks get voided, the vendor warrant gets voided, a check gets reissued, a vendor warrant gets reprocessed. This is what happened here, where we had a warrant that went out, a payment that went out. lost in transit, check was voided and reissued. The warrant was voided but was not reissued. So this is just to marry the expense and the warrant together to close the books on that.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 17.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $50,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to fund account 830-340-000-3400-771040 unemployment insurance.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Bill, at this point, just sit in the middle and lower the mic. Get comfortable.
I got to sit with my wife or she'll kill me. I just curious, you know, I don't recall seeing this in the past. Could somebody explain why we have to pay this right now? Does this have something to do with our, what can I call it? It's not a layoff, reduction in force? What is this for?
So yeah, initially we had a large balance on the account, which we were starting to pay out. But now, in anticipation of our future fiscal condition, we want to make sure we have sufficient funds in that unemployment account in case we do come into a situation where we have to lay off employees of the town of Dayton.
So basically, this is just in case we lay off someone.
We have to, in addition to that, we do have a few people who are on unemployment, which we are currently paying to maintain the balance in that account. But we do have, we do want to maintain the balance in anticipation of in the need in case of a future layoff. But we do have individuals who are on unemployment, and we think that in fiscal year 28, you know, as we go through the budget cycle, we want to be prepared.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $7,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the acquisition of whatever parcels or easements as necessary to make changes in grade, take land by purchase or eminent domain, and to settle damages from land taken in conjunction with the Pleasant Street Bridge reconstruction.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? And just for a point of clarification, this will require a 2/3 vote when the time comes.
Ron Marino, 2320 Pleasant Street in Dayton. Mr. Moderator, I would ask to encourage the voters to join me in rejecting Article 18, Pleasant Street Bridge Project, in the amount of $7,000. At this time, we don't need to make an improvement to a bridge when we're financially strapped. In the words of Selectman Pacheco, we have a very difficult fiscal crisis, careful planning and budgeting. We need to improve services so that we can afford them. We could take that $7,000 and put it to some other department that did take a hit. Bigger than that, the DOT in their meeting with the town indicated that the taxpayers of Dayton are going to be on the hook for as much as $3 million for that bridge. We don't need to spend that money right now in 2026 and 2027 and 2028 when departments are getting cut. That bridge should be turned into a foot traffic only bridge. Muddy Cove can be utilized as an access point to Pleasant Street. Hart Street can be used as an access point to Pleasant Street. North Street in Somerset can be used as an access point to Pleasant Street. In addition to that, it will go even further in the positive by not approving this and help with the speed limits that were addressed a while back on Pleasant Street, because that would make the end of Pleasant Street a dead end. So I would ask again that the voters reject this article. Thank you.
So people are aware, the town have already expended funds on the bridge to secure a study for the bridge. We received funding from the federal government and from the state, so no other, with the exception of this, no other funds from the people of the town of Dayton will be expended on the bridge. We're receiving approximately $3 million in funding from the federal government and Mass DOT, and the bridge project is approximately $6 million. We received word from Mass DOT that they will be covering the difference. This involves about seven property owners. 4 of the property owners are the town of Dayton. The remaining property owners have been contacted. And the amount is based on appraisals which were performed about a month to 6 weeks ago.
Question for the town administrator. Did you say that the town does not have to pay anything beyond the 7 for that bridge? Because that's not what was discussed with the DOT.
No, we had paid money up front. We had to put in money to make sure we secured the funding about a year and a half ago. But the balance of the funding, which you heard from the DOT, our initial concern was that who would come up with the balance, but the DOT just recently, about less than a month ago, they informed us that they were picking up the balance for the bridge construction project.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that we table this until the finances on this can be clearly shown to the public. I don't disagree with the administrator, but at this point, we've got they promised us a week ago sort of money. I'd prefer to see all of this laid out in writing, what the town's going to be on the hook for. I don't know how much we've already paid and what the state will commit to until we move forward with this. Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to table Article 18. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Checkers, please close the doors and conduct a hand vote. Checkers are ready. All of those in favor of tabling the motion, please raise your hand and keep them raised. All of those opposed to tabling Article 18, please raise your hands and keep them raised. The motion to table fails there was 48 yeses and 71 noes, so we will resume discussion on the original motion.
Hi, everybody. Brett Zagrafos, 401 Tremont Street. I believe the town administrator, hi, nice to meet you, said that the study had been completed. So then my assumption is that we would know what this article is for and whose land we may need to potentially take. I'm a little confused because the bridge already exists. Why would we need to be taking additional land? But yeah, to get my vote, I need some more information on this.
So just for further clarification, we had identified several parcels in association with the bridge reconstruction project. It's some small parcels on Pleasant Street and on Muddy Cove Lane as well. These parcels are needed for some slight widening and moving of poles. A lot of the easements are temporary in nature. There's like one or two permanent easements. I just want to remind the voters of a town meeting that this is necessary. Number one, the $7,000 is to secure the appraisals, but two, the vote is to authorize the Board of Selectmen for the land taking. It's necessary for the land taking. If we don't move ahead on this, we have a deadline of September to advertise for the project. If it does not move forward, we lose all the funding associated with the bridge project. We lose our federal funding and state funding. So the project would not move forward.
Glenn Jefferson, 270 Hillcrest Drive. So I guess, Ralph, maybe you can answer. So basically, we have funding on the table the town should be acting on, correct? This is kind of authorizing us to do the easements, purchasing eminent domain if we need to for the project. That's what the 7,000 is for.
Right, the 7,000 is to pay for the easements.
Right.
And then also, part of it is to give the selectmen the authority to do the easements and the taking.
Right.
So.
The thing I'd just add too for all the voters when you consider this, right, it's great for people to say, make the street a dead end. I want to live on the dead end and then make it a walking bridge. But that's irresponsible because look what happened to Briggs Street. They had to close Briggs Street for walking because we've neglected it for years and those residents can't even walk over it. So I think it's irresponsible in this town if people knew oh, close Pleasant Street because I want a dead end, versus we have an option now to get the bridge repaired with state funds. So consider that when voters are voting.
Nearly 3 years ago, Congressman Jake Auchincloss stuck his neck out, went to the Hill, literally before Congress, fighting for $2.75 million that we have received that is waiting to get used. We don't meet the deadline. Are we burning a bridge with him? Because it's my understanding that members of the Board of Selectmen are looking, and the town is looking to go back to Jake to ask for some more money to finish some of the roads in this community. So let's keep that in mind and keep that relationship with Senator Auchincloss in mind, and what message that sends if that money that he fought to get for us doesn't get used because we don't meet our deadlines. Thank you.
Ross Marino, 2320 Pleasant Street. I was just curious, have any studies on the ecological effect of this bridge been done? Because I may not be old enough, but my parents recollect stories of the river running different colors every single day because of the AstraZeneca dyeing plant up the street. All those dyes have since settled into the sediment of the river. Disturbing the foundations of this bridge will awaken all of those toxins again and kill wildlife. We've had sharks up here, whales up here, seals, even dolphins getting lost because the river quality is so poor and they end up dying up here. Not only that, it was mentioned disrepair of a footbridge. Turning it into a footbridge and the disrepair of a footbridge are two totally separate issues. I would expect that the town of Dayton would uphold, all of its infrastructure. So the disrepair is not exactly the same argument. Going to the speed issue, last year a member of my family took a run on the road and actually had to jump head first into the bushes because a man driving an SUV came at about 60 miles an hour on some kind of drugs, completely took out the guardrail, almost hit a goose, and the police had to come and give this man Narcan because he was ODing in his car. Now, you want to widen the road, which is not good for walking. I mean, there's a parallel highway that runs directly behind it. Why do we need to widen the road and, allow people to go even faster on this road when it's supposed to be a historic part of Dayton? Thank you.
If I may, it's marginally widening the road. It's not making it a thoroughfare in any sense of the word. And I just want to point out again to town meeting that this is a fairly arduous process. We're going through several permitting stages. Those include the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Mass DEP. So part of the reconstruction of the bridge includes those ecological studies, as well as going before the Dayton Conservation Committee.
Is there any other discussion?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Bob Bagalini. I'm 1546 Maple Street. I have a relative who lives on Muddy Cove, so I just want to kind of ask a question on their behalf a little bit here. And also just some clarifications I'd like on just really how this article relates to a few of the other articles, specifically Article 10, even Article 9, and then obviously this article relates to Article 21, right? Muddy Cove. The Tagan. What my brother explains to me is that DOT needs to take Muddy Cove because they need Muddy Cove to be used as like a temporary means to divert traffic during the construction of the bridge. So that means all the traffic that normally egress the bridge are going to have to be routed up Muddy Cove. So therefore, the town needs to take Muddy Cove in order to facilitate that. And from what I understand now, what he tells me is that Muddy Cove is a private road and it has, private utilities. Whether or not it's plowed or maintained by the town right now, I have no idea. But, number one, I kind of question, like, $7,000 for the appraisal. Is that even in the neighborhood of what is actually going to be going on here for costs with any of these takings? And is that associated with the Muddy Cove taken, or is it specifically associated with just maybe some of the land right in the vicinity of the bridge itself on Pleasant Street? So that's kind of a question and a clarification I'd like. Number two, it's interesting the way the article reads. The article reads, and again, now forgive me if this is something I don't understand about the annual laws or the way that on this article number 10 is kind of presented. It's very general in nature. It seems as if that there's a pretty broad power here that I wasn't aware that the Board of Selectmen needed to even ask for to begin with. So is this a new power? I'm not sure if the town council could just maybe clarify this. Is this a new power that's being granted to the Board of Selectmen to do this to obtain whatever parcels or easements necessary to make changes in grade? I mean, this sounds like a pretty broad power. It's like a transparency question, I guess. Is this a new power or is this an annual power? So that way, future projects that come up in town no longer have to go to town meeting to ask for a taking, or is this just a general blanket, now this power lies with the Board of Selectmen? So that's just a general question.
If through the moderator, if I may, Article 10 was sort of a generalization, and Article 18 is the specific of what we're requesting for the authority for the selectmen to do. Just the 7,000, the parcels in question for the easements for temporary and permanent easements, they're small parcels. Like I said, there's about 7 parcels, 4 of them belong to the town. They're about, one of them's 25 square feet, one of them's 500 square feet. So they are small parcels. A lot of it is just moving the poles, moving poles around.
And this is specifically on Pleasant Street, per
It's
se,
Pleasant
not
Street.
from Muddy
No.
Cove.
It's both Pleasant Street and Muddy Cove.
So the town does not need to take Muddy Cove over as part of this project or not?
So what's going to happen with the project, at the future, the article coming up, we'll discuss with Muddy Cove, because there are going to be improvements made on Muddy Cove in association with the Pleasant Street Bridge. Any improvements made in association with that construction can only be expended on a municipally owned building. We can't make, municipally owned roadway. You can't make improvements on a private roadway. In addition, in the construction period, they're not going to use it as a pass-through. Muddy Cove is generally going to be used, as we explained by the engineers, as more of a staging area and sort of left to the residents of Muddy Cove, not as a pass-through from Pleasant to 138.
Is that something that the DOT would typically handle, or I don't understand the need for the town to take Muddy Cove then, if that's the case?
So it's part of it.
Because there's typically with a project like that, there's a lot that goes into that with moving around construction materials and whatnot, and then there's also police details, and then all the other ancillary costs that the town's going to bear for the long-term maintenance of that road, where it might not be up to standards now. So there's a lot of unknown costs that probably at the stage that the project is at right now. So if
I guess my question would be through the moderator. That's a future. It's an upcoming article. Do we discuss taking Muddy Cove now or at that time?
Okay, thank you.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace, North Dayton. Is the $7,000 in the article going to be paid to property owners for temporary, permanent easements and/or land taking?
They will be paid for all of those, for temporary easements and permanent easements, and I believe there might be a land taking on there.
So all of the appraisal work has already been completed and paid for.
Yes.
So all these properties were appraised and a value was determined, and you have met with the property owners and they have accepted the offers, and those offers total.
They have not, they've been sent, the offers, they have not been accepted. We're waiting for this situation when we get the authority from the selectmen, have the authority to make those
But in any
deals.
case, the payment to the individuals involved will not exceed $7,000.
That is correct.
Okay, the other thing I want to mention is the standard procedure on any bridge project, and I've handled 3, there are certain local responsibilities, financial, that are not covered by federal and state money. All 3 bridges that I worked on with Tom Ferry and Selectmen were funded 80% federal and 20% state. However, all of those three bridge projects had local expenditures. The amount of land that was taken in the biggest bridge project this town has ever seen, Berkeley-Dighton Bridge, actually amounted to acquiring 2 pieces of property from the county under the bridge that, for the most part, are always underwater. We acquired them for $1 each simply because the county didn't want the legal responsibility should there be an accident on the bridge. I think the total amount we spent for land taking payments was $7,500 for temporary easements and $2 to the county. So this is a standard practice that what is being described here is part of the local cost on a bridge project.
Is there any other discussion?
Hi, Chrissy Caldera, 1740 Oak Grove Drive. My question is, what happens when these ecological tests or studies are done and we can't afford to move forward?
The testing and the remediation is included in the price anticipated by the engineers. So that's what's covered from the money we're receiving through the federal government and the state.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. Article 19.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws by deleting in its entirety Section 4300, Conservation Subdivision, in its entirety, and replace same with a new Section 4300, Conservation Subdivision, modify and add the terms and definitions in proper alphabetical order to Section 6, Definitions, and modify Appendix A, Use Regulation Schedule as outlined in Article 19 of June 1st, 2026 Annual Town Meeting Warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
There is. Thank you. So I'll keep this short and sweet. But this conservation subdivision bylaw update we have before you this evening has been a couple of years in the works. There have been many committees and boards in the town that were involved in getting us to the point where we're ready to present this to the town of Dighton for consideration for adopting into the bylaws. So I want to thank everybody for all the tireless time they took to do that. We couldn't have gotten here without everybody's help. So a current bylaw was written years ago, and it requires at least 20% open space, a basic 4-step design process, 100-foot wetland buffers, and allows flexible lot sizes and requires permanent protection of open space. But it doesn't define what meaningful open space is. It doesn't reflect today's environmental standards, doesn't ensure that preserved land is usable, connected, or well-maintained. The proposed update keeps the same core idea, but modernizes it to better protect Dayton's rural character. It requires developers to map and protect the site's most important natural and cultural resources first. It strengthens the 100-foot wetland buffer, requires low-impact development stormwater practices, and ensures open space is contiguous, visible, and functional, with at least 25% designed for passive or active recreation. It adds clear rules for long-term maintenance, including detailed open space maintenance plans and consistent standards for homeowners associations. And it introduces a more accurate unit calculation method along with firm caps, no more than 40 units or 60 units if affordable or senior housing is included. In short, the update gives Dayton a stronger, clearer, and more environmentally responsible bylaw that preserves open space, protects natural resources, and guides growth in a way that fits our community. Planning Board recommends.
Is there any other discussion?
Nancy Goulart, Stormwater Committee. I read through the article. On at least 8 pages, there was reference to stormwater management. There are no complete explanations on what those references really refer to as far as the stormwater bylaw and regs. For almost a year now, this town has been under contract with Weston and Sampson, funded by the ARPA grant, to completely revise both the bylaw and the stormwater regs. In working with the planning board recently, it's clear that there needs to be more work. The planning board has responded to the information that was given to us by Weston and Sampson. The Stormwater Committee was contacted during the period when this work was being done, if this is the SERPED work, but the information was not available because we didn't have the information from Weston and Sampson. Only thing we could refer to was the existing bylaw and regs, which are in the process of being changed. I don't feel it makes sense to enact this now because we are faced with a deadline of before September the 1st to have that all done because of the status of ARPA funding. The engineer at Weston and Sampson is in effect wrapping up the bylaw and stormwater work. I have sent that out, it was last November. The only board that has responded to that first information from Weston and Sampson is the planning board. I think it's important that all town bylaws, regs, all at least are cohesive, and that when one is referenced by the planning board, the zoning board, the stormwater committee, everything comes together. We don't need more conflict. This is one of the reasons why this has been undertaken. In addition, there is reference to the post-construction. This is the one section of the town bylaw that we were told by EPA, you've got to correct that or you're going to be fined. The study that's going on, that's going to wrap up soon, is addressing that issue. It bought us time to avoid fines. I think this is something to consider after we get feedback from the other boards, committees, commissions, town officials who have not responded to anything relative to that work that Weston and Sampson is doing. I would hope that everyone will take a look at those and at least say, I've read them, I don't have questions, or come up with a kind of work that, in a short meeting, one meeting with the planning board was discussed, and then ongoing emails between Mr. Cavallo and myself. So I don't think at this point tonight you should approve these, because I think there's conflict with what we're going to end up with. I make a motion to table.
Motion to table has been made and seconded. All of those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion to table passes. The motion to table has passed. I think it was pretty clear. A motion to table would be in favor to table or not in favor. That the article has, there will be no further discussion on Article 19. We'll be moving on to Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the Town of Dayton vote to amend the town zoning bylaws to insert a new section 4605 as described in Article 20 of the annual town meeting warrant of June 1st, 2026.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator, the Town of Dayton, what this section is, if you'll see on Article 20, is it's titled A Temporary Moratorium of the Construction of Solar Electric Generating Facilities and Energy Storage Installations. As you recall, in recent history, I want to say probably 3 or 4 years ago, we came before the annual town meeting to amend the existing solar electric generating facility and energy storage bylaw section. Since then, there's been a big push at the Commonwealth level. State of Massachusetts has pushed a lot of towns and cities to beef up their solar farm bylaws to the point where a lot of towns and cities were falling behind, not really coming up to the par that the state required. So what the state has done is they've mandated a statewide requirement of what the rules need to be at the local level. So what that requires us to do is to go back and completely revamp our bylaws to account for that. So in order to do that properly, what we're asking is for a 2-year pause from construction of large-scale solar array facilities as well as energy storage facilities, also known as battery energy storage systems. So that would be in place until 2028, June of 2028. So that's what we're proposing to the town this evening.
Nancy Goulart, Board of Assessors. My concerns about this are more than twofold. First of all, the Board of Assessors was not contacted relative to this. As we all know, and we probably, majority, don't like solar farms. They result in large income in the form of personal property taxes. They also result in income because most of the land that these are built on, whether it's farmland or forest land, is prior to being developed, is in chapter. Chapter land is assessed at approximately $5,000 an acre. When somebody takes land out of chapter to build a solar farm, they have to go back and pay taxes for the previous 5 years because that land goes from $5,000 to $40,000 an acre, so the town gains in real estate taxes. Another point is, if any of you own property that is in chapter and you have an opportunity to have an installation like that put in, and it passes all of the rules and regs and everything that is required to build solar in this town, you have a right to do with your property what is correct relative to bylaws and regs and laws. You have personal property rights. I'm not out there drumming up business for solar farms or pilot agreements either, because I'm the person that has to deal with them. But the fact of the matter is, property owners have the right to, if the opportunity arises, to come to the town with the developer to ask about getting a solar farm installed. Although we have rules that say you can't see them from the road. I can tell you, this town has done exceptional work to block them from being viewed from the street. Leave this town and look around. You're going to see them everywhere. You're going to see them in Exeter, Rhode Island on Interstate 95. You're going to see them on 495 and 24. Pick your poison. But this town has done very well to hide them. The other thing is, when the property owner enters into this kind of agreement and gets it approved, there is an opportunity not only for the property owner to make some money. They're going to lease this property for 20 years. But when you think about what is out there, the question I have is, and we've heard this before, our schools are growing. We've got to build new facilities. One of the positives is about a solar farm is it doesn't increase the school population. It brings money into the town. And I just want to point out what is written in this article. I call your attention to, with 6 fully operational and 3 still under construction, awaiting completion. That's totally incorrect. I don't know when this article was written. As of right now, today, standing here, there are actually 8 solar farms in operation. The 9th one belongs to National Grid, and since National Grid owns the land, they don't pay taxes on the land or the personal property. That's state law. The 8 that are in operation, they are paying taxes. They are being billed. Some have pilots and some don't. So that information is not factually correct. My suggestion on this one also is a motion to table until we can get factual information and come up with something that I can read and not get up and say to you, it's not factual. So motion to table.
Motion made and seconded to table Article 20. All those in favor? No. Opposed? No. Motion to table passes. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept a town roadway known as Muddy Cove Lane, as described in Article 21 of the annual town meeting warrant of June 1st, 2026.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
The only discussion I will have here for giving it up to potentially being tabled is this topic was discussed earlier, and it does refer to Muddy Cove Lane, and as the people of the town of Dayton will see the description of the roadway, and the intent is to accept this as a public right-of-way with all the rights and privileges typically associated with public ways in the town of Dayton. Thank you.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Great Terrace. As a former selectman who handled these bridge projects I mentioned, as was said earlier, you cannot get federal or state funding for any property that is not owned by the town. We had to take Center Street. When I say take it, wrong choice. And the gentleman that said, are you going to take Muddy Cove? It's not taking. This is not a land taking. The town has to own any road on which there is going to be work that is funded by state and federal. Center Street, believe it or not, had never been accepted by the town of Dayton.
Nancy, can we keep it to just Muddy Cove?
I will. But people don't understand what's involved. These are federal and state requirements. We took the bottom of the Taunton River up to the boundary because we were ordered to do it. All this is saying to the people of Dayton, this road has never been accepted by the town of Dayton. We need to accept it based on the described layout here so that the bridge work on Pleasant Street with the funding from federal and state can continue and be accepted.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Hi, Brett Zografos, 401 Tremont Street. I'd be willing and like to hear from Mrs. Goff, if she's still here, or any residents from Muddy Cove. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 22.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws, Section 6 definitions, by deleting the terms floor area gross and floor area gross in their entirety, as these terms are now recognized as gross floor area as described in Article 22 of the June 1st, 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to point out to the town of Dayton that this is just general housekeeping of the glossary section. What happened last year, we presented a new section called the ADU, the accessory development unit, dwelling unit section. When that was replacing a section that was in the bylaw, we unintentionally left some old definition terms in the appendix of the bylaw. So this is just general housekeeping, getting rid of the duplicative definitions and replacing it, or not replacing it, but leaving the one that was put in place specifically with the new ADU section. Thank you.
Does the planning board have a recommendation?
Apologize. Planning board recommends.
Is there any other discussion? This will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 23.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning section 4730, subsection B, by deleting kennel, modified terms, and definitions in proper alphabetical order to section 6, definitions, and modify appendix as used regulation schedule as described in Article 23 of the June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? And is there a planning board recommendation?
Planning board recommends.
Just to describe, Ollie's Law passed in Massachusetts about a year ago, and this is just bringing us to where Ollie's Law is.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, this will also require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 24.
The Board of Selectmen to file a home rule petition with the General Court seeking approval of a special act, an act authorizing the town of Dayton to impose community impact linkage fees as described in Article 24 of the June 1st, 2026 annual town meeting warrant, and to authorize the General Court to make any revisions that are necessary or appropriate to the form of such bill.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 25.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to propose that the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22I, which authorizes the annual increase in the amount of the exemption granted under MGL Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22A, Clause 22B, Clause 22C, Clause 22E, and Clause 22F by the percentage increase in the U.S. Department of Labor Bureau and Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index for the previous year as determined by the Commissioner of Revenue to be effective for applicable exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 2026, and/or take any action relative thereto.
Motion made and seconded. Take a breath, and then is there any discussion?
That was a lot of words, man. I'm here, so basically to explain this article, this is going to codify that our veterans agent is not going to have to come before this body every single year to get a cost of living adjustment. This will permanently say that our veterans will always get a cost of living adjustment for their exemption. I strongly support.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 26.
I move that the town vote to move opioid stabilization funds to opioid settlement fund as special revenue fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 27. Article 28.
Knew that was going to happen. Oh, okay.
That's what I know it to be, but I don't know.
Let's find out what he says. Who's motion to bring the town meeting? Yeah, I know, but whose motion is it to? No, I think you should. Your chair. Yeah. If you had said it before this, we would. Yeah.
The motion to reconsider would have to be to reconsider Article 5 in its entirety, not the subsidiary motion to amend within the article, and which would also require a two-thirds vote for reconsideration. And also, well, there's no more, it's an invalid motion, so the second would be invalid. I mean, I'll let you ask a question. Well, we can have a discussion if you want to figure this out. Yeah. Yeah, I'll allow it though.
Make the motion dissolve.
So I'd like to say in support of reconsidering this article, we have sat through this meeting, and I understand that some folks were concerned that maybe there were other items that might take precedence, whatever. Now we're at the end of the night, and I would like to reiterate the fact that we will be short a person in the assessor's office. This means that work will not get done. It means that we're opening ourselves
I would say that
up to
petitioning the body for your reasoning for reconsideration would be inappropriate.
Motion to dissolve.
Okay. I'm in the middle of speaking. So, and I already made a motion to reconsider. I made a motion to reconsider Article 5.
Further discussion?
Can I withdraw my motion? That's fine, just rule it.
So the motion to dissolve was out of order. Your original motion for reconsideration was on a subsidiary motion, which is also out of order. I made a motion to reconsider Article 5. A motion has been made to, and motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 5, which will require a 2/3 vote. All of those in favor of reconsidering Article 5? Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion to reconsider fails.
Motion to dissolve.
Can't dissolve. He's gonna make the point.
The motion to dissolve is out of order. At this time, I would like to appoint the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee will be composed of Peter Roach, Sue Lorenz, Jake Stebbins, Tracy Karolsick, Ron McKay, and Tom Arujo.
Motion to dissolve?
Second.
Motion to dissolve has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. Have a great evening.